Okay, this is a meeting for the Public Works Committee. Roll call, please.
Cindy will not be here tonight. Seth,
Here.
Todd,
Here.
Andrew,
Here.
and Crystal.
Here.
First period for public comment. Anybody want to make comment? Anybody online? Okay.
We do have somebody online, but it does not look like they want to make a public comment at this time, so I think you're good to go, Todd.
Okay, next, three would be the approval of committee minutes from December 3rd, 2024.
And this is Crystal. I would recommend approval of the committee minutes. And thank you for catching the dollar amount and making it correct.
This is AJ. I'll second.
All in favor, saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Then you say nay. And opposed? Motion carried. Okay, 4, discussion with possible action on the printer contract.
Here, do you need the share screen?
No.
Oh, okay. Do you need any materials put up, Cheryl, that were sent out later? Okay,
No.
okay.
Oh, thank you. Oh,
I'll trade you.
it's been so long. I know. Get all this.
Okay, thank you. So, we won't actually have to approve anything today. I'll have to bring this back. It's regarding the billing clerk's printer where we print our billing cards, like our billing statements on cardstock, and also the disconnection letters and some copies like we send out for packets and stuff. We roughly go through 1,100 copies between the billing cardstock and regular paper per month. That's about our average. So I didn't really want to get that great of a printer, and the current printer was 14 years old, 13 years old, and it just died. I had to put it out to greener pastures. And I checked into a couple options. I've been working with E.O. Johnson and wanted to get, the most economical printer we could for the price. And they've gone up considerably since we've bought the last ones. They've about doubled. So I have 3 options. One was purchasing the printer outright and then paying a smaller monthly support fee that which covers our copies, maintenance, toner, any other kind of issues we might have with the printer. And the option 2 was if we leased it. The option 3 was using our current office printer. And I just got the email out to Lori, Nate, and Sarah this morning. So we really haven't had a chance to discuss everything. So just wanted to kind of inform you that's what I'm doing. I'm looking for a new printer to see what our best option is that will work for the office and work for utilities. So this will be coming back next month or next time we meet.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, we'll move to the next one. With the 5 would be approval of pay application for number 3 Main Street Contract 1, 2024.
All right. Let's see. I'm trying to move my mouse. There we go. Okay. I need to share. Oh, we could certainly do it that way. Do you want to drive? Okay. So this is our 3rd pay application for Main Street. Obviously, we are on pause for the winter. I'll go through it in more detail, but make it easier while not driving. So the amount to this application is $60,660.50. You want to scroll down, Nate? Okay, so keep going. Okay, stop. Up a little bit. We're gonna go like we want the Yes. Should be right there. Okay, so these are all the items that are on this pay request is in the column next to the percentages. So basically everything is, I mean, what we're expecting. We do end up having, not in here yet, eventually we're gonna end up having a little bit more conduit because the work for Excel, the conduit to cross South Street will be in here, but it's not in here yet. Basically, this is a lot of the electrical that, if you remember last time, was not included. And so that's the gist of all of what is here. I guess that's about it. Traffic control stuff that was installed. If you keep scrolling down a little, I think that's all that's on there. Yep. So this only amounts to only $60,660.50. Happy to answer any questions there.
Yeah, any questions?
If there's no questions, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the application number 3 for Main Street Contract 1 in the amount of $60,666.50.
60,660.50.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Todd, I'll second it.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Seth,
Aye.
Todd,
Aye.
Andrew.
Aye.
And Crystal.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, we'll move to 6. That'll be approval of pay application number 3 for Decker Street Improvement Contract number 2.
Sorry, I'm trying to get Nate to let control of the screen.
You don't want me to just try to do it again?
No, it's messes with the flow.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so let's see. I think you have to put my screen up there.
Gotta move your sharing around the screen.
Oh.
You're sharing your Zoom, there you go.
Let's try it again. I want to be able to share that. It was my screen. I think yeah. Okay. Do you see it now? Looks like it.
Sarah, I wanted to point out on this one that they have application number 1 and they have the dates, the application period are still the
Oh.
old stuff. So you might want to let them know that.
I'll get it changed for council. Okay, so on this application, this is for the Decker Street corner improvements only. And again, you're seeing basically electrical work that was not included last time. So let's see. Right, it's on a little bit of a lag here. Okay, so the current quantities is always what we're talking about at the moment. And the only thing that's a little bit different than what we would expect, because these contractors are used to DOT contracts, and in DOT contracts, the construction observer or inspector is the one that puts the pay request together. So they're always really struggling with this. And for some reason, they switched from going to percentages to the quantity, which really doesn't matter too terribly much. You just have to watch it a little more carefully. And so the only thing that's different here is that this pull box was supposed to be a single quantity, and we actually ended up having to put 2 in. And the reason being was that one of them was the original pull box, but it would have been in the road. And it's like an old box. It was all beat up, and we don't really like things, especially like in a turn like that. It's just going to get knocked by a plow and run over. And so we actually got it moved so that it would be in the sidewalk area like it originally was. And so it ended up being an extra quantity, so an extra $2,123. But I would say that was money well spent. So That's about the only real highlight. Again, all of this is work that was previously done that just was not included as a part of the last pay request because the electrical contractor missed the last pay request date. So, this total payment due is at 18,925.03, and this contract's nearly done. If you can note, it's only like the pavement markings and the restoration left.
Okay, is it 03 or 01? Because the front page says 01 and this says 03.
Oh, to be involved in accounting. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, again, it's a rounding thing. So we'll use the front page because it probably has to do with how they calculate the retainage and before. So 18,925.01.
Any questions for Sarah? Somebody want to make a motion?
This is Crystal, and I would move approval of the pay application number 3 for Decker Street Improvement Contract 2 in the amount of $18,925.01.
This is AJ, I'll second.
I bet this one's supposed to say application number 2, not 3. Yeah. Because they delayed in the original one, just didn't come till the second.
Are you sure it's not number 3?
Because Main Street went first
Okay,
and we did a pay app for Main Street first, and then this one came with the second one.
so I had that wrong on there, on
Oh,
the agenda then.
I believe it. Yeah, I can double check, but I'm pretty sure because, well, let's look. It'll be on here. No, you're probably right, actually, because we can see the previous 2 payments. So it is 3. My bad.
Ready for a roll call then?
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
Todd,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Crystal,
Aye.
and Seth.
Aye.
And motion carried. Next would be number 7, and that's approval of pay application number 2 for Viroqua Sewer Projects 2024.
And finally, we get to see what we're used to looking at. A Bierbecker front cover sheet. Okay, so current payment due on this sewer project was $96,970.11. So we're bouncing around a lot on this one. Yeah. So this one, if you remember, there's all these different projects essentially rolled into one contract, right? So that's why you see lots of zeros in certain sections, and then the other ones are much more complete. So this first section is Chicago Avenue. So they really haven't done a lot of work there. Obviously, they're on site. They did some excavation, but that was all that they had under this pay request for the work that they've done. They've done a lot. Well, I shouldn't say a lot more. It is a slow moving animal out there. They're out there working, but they ended up having to drop the storm sewer, and then they ended up running into an issue because it was like an oval culvert pipe instead of a round one. And the good thing is Bierbecker's mistake, and Bierbecker's taking care of all the additional costs, but it slowed them down. And it's just like really big pipe. I don't know if I mean, we're talking like, 8-foot culvert pipes. And so it's just taking them some time, and it's frost, right? So they're digging through frost. But they're working away on that. They are, even though it is currently closed, it is open for emergency services now. So they can get through, even though we don't want anyone else to be getting through, but they have made it accessible. And they'll be continuing to work on that. They're going to be doing the connection to the manhole on Marquette, the end of Marquette. And then they're going to continue through and try to get the sewer to go past the low lying areas. So the idea is that when the spring comes, they don't want to be fighting with water. And so they want to get out of that area so that they can keep going and not have the issues that you can run into with spring. So not a lot on the Chicago one for this pay request. You can see that manhole, one of the storm manhole. Can you imagine something cost $30,000 like that? But that is the structure there. Let's see. Railroad Avenue. That was large. It's not, so I'm always looking at like what we've got on this payment, but a lot of that was done previously. And then Broadway, they started work on Broadway Avenue and they're nearly done. I would say about 75% done on Broadway. So that's West Broadway, basically by the school. They got the first manhole in and worked their way up till they got to the first driveway. It was basically a driveway and then County B. And so they didn't want to get into an open road for the county road as well as like messing up someone's driveway before we can fix it right away. So they just stopped short there. So the other part that we see here is stored materials. So if you remember last time we approved stored materials, so as the project goes on, as they use the materials, they deduct it from that total. So eventually that line will be 0, right? But at this point, we're just whittling away. So lots of zeros, lots of jumping around, but everything save that one issue with the storm sewer, which ended up getting taken care of by Vera Becker. Everything's on target. And as mentioned, the current payment due is that $96,970.11.
Any questions, for Sarah?
Okay, this is Crystal, and I would move approval of the pay application number 2 for Viroqua Sewer Projects for 2024 in the amount of $96,970.11.
This is Todd. I'll second it. Roll call, please.
Andrew,
Aye.
Crystal,
Aye.
Seth,
Aye.
and Todd.
Aye. Motion carried. Number 8, discussion with possible action on task order 2402 for GIS services with Strand Associates.
Okay. So Strand Associates has done our GIS system forever, since I started here, basically. And originally they hosted our GIS, so that meant that they had it on their server and they managed and set it up for us, and we entered all the data and got all that stuff. 3 years ago, they switched to Esri, so ArcGIS switched to an on-cloud-based system. And so we no longer pay Strand to host the GIS. However, we do get them to help, essentially, as needed. And so in lieu of having an open-ended contract with them to do work, they set a cap, right? So this cap is an estimated fee of $5,000 and to be completed in 2027. But we're not obliged, definitely, but we're not necessarily going to spend $5,000. It's just the contract allows them to do the work. So things come up every once in a while. Like, for example, when we did our service line material inventory, like they helped us get new layers set up and, get things set up how we wanted to for our reporting and things like that. So, it's not necessarily always planned, but it'll come up and then, we're able to do the work. So, looking for approval for Strand to continue to support us with our GIS.
This is Crystal, and I would move approval of the task order 24 -02 for the GIS services with Strand and Associates. And I believe that's for up to $5,000.
JL second.
Okay, Crystal,
Aye.
Seth,
Aye.
Todd,
Aye.
and Andrew.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next will be discussion with possible action on change order for Main Street project to address milestone date.
All right, let's see. I thought I had it here. Did I close it by accident? Possibly. Ooh. Well, there you go. One moment, please. All right, I think I am ready now, Minnie. Thank you. Is it me that's needs to change something or you, Nate? Oh, I probably need to close this to get it to work. Aha. Okay, so this change order is not been reviewed by Chippewa yet. So this would be assuming that they will be in agreement with it, and this also has to go to council anyway, so they'll give us some time. But I would, they don't have a lot, I guess, to say in dispute of it. So the change order is not for money, it is for the date, the completion date. And in the original contract or in the contract, there was milestone dates and the everything, the concrete work, pavement markings, all of those things were supposed to be completed before December 30th. And their schedule that they had set out had them working until December 5th in order to complete the schedule. But they requested a winter suspension as of November 22nd because they weren't able to pour concrete anymore. And DOT contracts, which is our contract mirrors DOT contracts because we are working through the TAP process, automatically allows for winter suspension as of November 15th. So what this is it's saying, okay, you were on winter suspension as of 11/22. However, you were supposed to be completed by December 5th. And therefore, or sorry, it was actually the 3rd. So therefore, you had 11 calendar days left of work as scheduled and planned. So what this is saying is that we're saying, okay, we're going to reset our dates so that we still have a milestone of when you need to complete all the concrete work. But that will not commence until winter is over, so to speak. The winter suspension's over. So by DOT standard, winter suspension is over on March 31st. And so what this says is that your clock will start ticking again on March 31st. Or if you end up deciding to come in before March 31st, then you need to start that clock then. And the idea there is that we don't want them to come in, be like, oh, we have a really nice day, set everything up, and then be like, oh, well, we haven't hit March 31st yet, so you can't really count these days as a part of the work days, right? So we went through so what happens, we'll take a step back. What happens if we don't meet a milestone date? Then there is what's called liquidated damages for the fact that they're here beyond what they agreed to be here for. Right, because the milestone dates were a part of the original contract. And liquidated damages is a penalty up to $1,000 a day, but it is supposed to be for damages incurred, right? So we can't just say, well, we just really don't want you here anymore. We're going to charge you $1,000 a day. It has to be like we're paying Jeff and it's costing us money beyond what we had imagined it would be because you're now inflicting damages, right? So we need to be very clear about what that date is, because I would say that it's very likely going to take more than 11 days. We don't know that for sure. They could do some miracle, but it's based on how they've worked and the sequencing they need for all the concrete work. It's likely going to be above that time frame. What is not included in that milestone? So May 31st is the full contract completion date that's in the contract right now. And it was anticipated that the traffic signals, the actual receiving and acquiring the traffic signals was going to take a long time. at that point. So we knew that the traffic signal stuff would take longer. And so the traffic signal work not being done would not be considered out of contract until May 31st. George went through this. So did the engineer. I mean, the engineer put this together and George reviewed it. And so this is what we're putting forward. Essentially, it's a change order to change and be clear what the date would be in terms of not getting the work done per contract. I know that's kind of complicated, but anybody has any questions, please ask.
I just have a really silly question. Are
Mhm.
we talking December 5th of 24 or 25?
Their schedule had December, I think it was actually 3rd of 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they had originally planned on finishing all of the concrete work in 24.
Okay.
And they certainly had a lot of opportunities to get it done.
So if they haven't completed it, are they in violation now then? Or not until we get?
Yeah, so
Okay.
per the contract, there was a provision for winter suspension. And that's typical. So a lot of times DOT projects will just be 2-year projects, right? And so they always give them this this allowance of November 15th to March 31st as that's defined as the winter suspension. If they can get extra time in, they can. And so they were already, 3 weeks going to be past that date, but they were hoping for better weather. They had good weather before that time, but then it got cold and they just couldn't pour anymore, right? So there are set standards from the DOT about what the ambient temperatures need to be in order to pour. And they can go through certain provisions to heat things, but when you're talking about an area like that, it doesn't work anymore. Or at least not reasonably.
Okay.
Any other
So,
questions?
So I would move, this is Crystal, and I would move that we take action on the change order, number 1 for Main Street project, and address the milestone date with the new date being December 3rd of
So
2024. No,
it would be, so what will happen, like we have here, so it'll be 11 calendar days following the start of the work or April 11th, whichever comes first, because they're making an assumption that automatic suspension date of the 31st starts the count, no matter what.
okay. Is that okay, Lori? Do you have all that? Do you need me to say it?
I'm pulling it right out of
Yeah,
replacing
okay.
paragraph B.
All right,
Perfect.
thank you.
Just Todd, I'll second it.
I don't think we need a roll call on that one simply because there's no money changing.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Where do we go? Do I ask that?
Andrew and Seth, did you vote on that?
Yep. Aye. Yes. Aye.
Looks like AJ is trying to speak. AJ, we're not getting any volume from you.
I heard him.
Can you hold up his thumb?
Do you guys hear me?
Yeah, it looks like they're
Is there
both trying to
anything
talk,
you
but I
did?
got nothing from
Yeah, I was gonna say, I haven't done anything, have I?
No, I don't think so.
Yes.
Do you guys hear us now?
Just a second.
Do you want me to stop sharing? Would that be helpful at all?
AJ, Seth, how about one more time?
We are here. I gave an aye. Did you get that?
We got it now. We hear you. Thank you. AJ?
Oh, he's probably trying to log in again.
For some reason, it switched over to a different speaker input randomly. We'll let AJ get back here in a second.
What was interesting is that I could hear AJ when you guys couldn't.
Yeah,
Ah,
that would make sense because there wasn't it wasn't an issue with the Zoom. It was an issue with the feed from
Your,
into the speakers in the council room. So it was just a council room speaker issue. AJ, I think we're all set. Can you hear us now?
Yep, can you hear me?
Okay, what was your vote on that last item?
Aye,
Thank you.
or yes.
Okay, opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Lonnie. Okay, number 10 would be lead service lateral program update with possible action.
So Sarah can have a little break. For the new people here, a brief summary. If you would like to talk with me a little more about it, I'd be more than happy to sit down and talk to you on a little more detailed scale. But it's an update on our lead service line lateral grant. It's a grant that Sarah and I applied, well, Sarah applied for it a couple years ago now, and a little over a year ago, we found out we did receive funding. However, it was a different setup than what we have received in the past, which was 100% grant. This time it was a 75% grant with a 25% loan. In order to not have to raise utility rates and go for a full rate case to help pay for that 25% of the loan product or the loan balance, Sarah and I came up with a very creative way to not impact our water users, not impact the revenue or expenses for the utility. And at first, it seemed like the DNR was all for it. It seemed like the PSC was all on board with it. However, as things developed through the DNR and through the Public Works, or excuse me, the PSC, it did turn out that we had to file for what's called a rate case, or it is an update to our water utility tariff, even though we did not need to go for increasing water rates. So we had to go through a full rate case, though, a full investigation and a full review of what we had come up with for a plan. That was submitted in July, and then the PSC changed some of their requirements, so I had to resubmit it in October. Went through a series of channels at the PSC, did find out at the end of November that we had been approved to move on to the next level, which would be a letter of investigation. That's where it's open to the public for 14 days for any kind of feedback. Those 14 days came and went. It was December 14th when the PSC should have made their final determination. And so I hadn't heard anything yet. And I also went on to the electronic recording system, and there was no updates. So I did contact the PSC yesterday. They did get back to me this morning. We have passed our notice of investigation. The PSC has moved it on through the rest of the channels and the commissioners for approval. It has not been final approved, but they are expecting that within 2 weeks. They are, they meaning our primary investigator, feels that it will be passed. The commissioners have been very impressed with the plan that Sarah and I have come up with. but they've had to look at some of the legalities of it. So that's what's holding up our final approval, is they have to have it, their lawyers look at some of our things. So, yeah, so hopefully in 2 weeks I can come back with good news. And maybe more things to pass.
Yeah.
And I just had a question. You don't need anything further from us then. It's just an update.
This is just an update this time. Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to number 11, which is a Main Street project update.
Well, there's not a lot to update. As you can see, we're on pause until we can get things moving again. I was really optimistic that they would be able to get the pole up at South Street, or at least some of the work done, the electrical work. I knew they could get the concrete work done, but they aren't really equipped when they create those tiny little trenches that they did to get through frost, and so they froze, so to speak, where they were. So we're still looking good. I mean, they still have things in place that they need. We just need to wait for things to unthaw, and then they will get moving forward. And as you know from item number 9, we're just adjusting the deadline because of when the winter conditions came in, and they'll have a pretty short time frame to keep moving forward. Happy to answer any questions. I'm really looking forward to the markings being on Main Street. It's so hard because I'm like, I know there's supposed to be a left-hand turn here, lane here now, and a drive-through lane, but no one would know that because it's not painted yet. So we're getting there.
Thank you, sir. Next would be the number 12, be the street department update.
Yeah. Let's see. I always want to make sure I don't forget to give the guys updates as well as mine. So obviously they've, since December 3rd, had some plowing situations, a lot of salting and sanding. They've been working on rebuilding chains for their plow trucks. They've cut a couple trees. They did some cold patching and they're picking up brush and some compost. I have been working on we submitted to the county our 6x20, which is our large culvert inventory. If it's over 6 feet, they allow it to go into a category where we might be able to get some funding for it in the future. I had some conversations with the DOT about some of the various grant deadlines that we have. It is so astounding to me that there are so many different grants that the DOT offers, and each of them have a different set of rules, which I'm learning. I can't make assumptions about certain things. So for example, one in particular, where's our Education Avenue funding? That is under the STP program, the Surface Transportation Program, and we have never been able to apply for it before because they have to have a certain classification of road. But when they had the bill money come through, they opened it up to a lower classification. And so not having done it before did not realize that their timelines were very specific, because basically we end up getting a contractor, and then they take the process from there. Like they do all of the work, just like they did with the HISIP project. So we don't have the letter come through yet, but we have been approved to slide it back so that the engineering work should happen in 2027 and the construction would be 2029. Let's see. We have our forestry grant from the tree bag program and some tree planting. I am waiting back to hear from them if we were basically the total amount of money spent. We were about $5,000 under what we could have spent, which translates to about $2,500 worth of grant that we weren't able to use, essentially. And so I've asked if we can use some additional expenses for things like pruning, some of the equipment we got, like chainsaws and things like that. So I'm waiting to hear what they say. But that reporting is due pretty quickly here. Let's see, the bike and pedestrian plan is a draft format is done and they're just formatting it. And then we're sending it to the steering committee next. And then it'll come to one of these committees. So we're very close. The DOT looked through some of it for us and agreed with what we had there because we wanted to make sure that it was not something that they would, say, well, we won't really do this kind of thing. So we're very close to having it in front of you. Let's see where we're doing. I'm doing pretty decently for time. The other thing that I've been working with a lot is getting the website updated, the new website. So that has been interesting seeing all that stuff. I think that's probably a good street update.
Any questions for Sarah? Okay, thank you, Sarah. The next would, number 13 would be utility update.
Go first.
Well, it is year end and beginning of year, so there's lots of reporting to run, lots of changes to be made in the utilities, the customer accounts. We have to roll things over. I have to figure out the new sewer rates for all the non-residential customers, as well as start on the audit. I am looking to hopefully finishing up the budget that really should have been done in the fall, but I'm going as fast as I can. And also the EPA ASAP system, it's the grant reporting system. I will be making that a priority this week so that I can get our expenses to date filed and be reimbursed.
Awesome. So the guys have been working on changing transmitters and meters, lift station maintenance. They also have their year-end calculations and inventory, and getting things cleaned up at this time of year, and again, you'll hear that year-end reporting. So it's everybody's year-end reporting. It's also our year-end regulatory reporting. So we have, as particularly for the sewer system, we have to send reports in about what our findings have been for like PFAS sampling that we've done and just general phosphorus removal. The sewer project. So the sewer project, you see them working out there. I don't know how happy they are working in this weather, but they're out there. And like I had mentioned before, they're trying to get through a low area so that when they get ready for the spring and they're finished for the year, they just have areas that aren't going to have impact from spring runoff. So that would basically mean they're going like Marquette and they're going to go on the south side of the Hanson Farm and they're going to basically stop on Sands Road. And then next year they'll be working on Sands Road, crossing Main Street and getting rid of the lift station on Fairgrounds, which is awesome because that thing is so old. It's hard to find parts for it to fix it anymore. And then they'll also finish that West Broadway connection going across County B and the driveways there. And they will be doing Railroad Avenue. They did all of the main, but they didn't do any of the sewer services that would have crossed the road because then we would have had all those like trenches because we wouldn't have been able to pave at that time. Greg and I sat down with Beerbecker to go through some of the engineering design on the Hanson Farm property. And I think that's a good wrap up. Hopefully. Any questions?
Okay, that being said, number 14, second period for public comment. Anybody like to? Anybody online, Nate?
If anybody online want to make public comment, they can do so at this time.
Yes, if not, I'd like to make them, sorry. If not, make a motion, somebody make a motion and adjourn.
This is Crystal and I'd make a motion to adjourn.
This is AJ. I'll second.
All those in favor by signifying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Right,
Meeting adjourned.
you're adjourned.
Getting better every time.